And how about Acuna and
You
the
played
Braves?
better today, too. That was better than the one yesterday.
Awesome. For the
Jenna's
people
the
that don't
greatest.
know, now they do. We'll get to Zeke's threat to hold out in a second. But first, Angels, Astros, and Cole Calhoun chasing down the fly ball and right. Dives to make the nice catch.
First of all, very unique spelling of the first name Cole. Cole with a K. Maybe they thought he was going to be a pitcher. Second of all, tougher catch right there, given the fact that he's left-handed, has to go across the body. That is a great play.
More from
Summer
more
League.
basketball. Barry Brown Jr.
Somewhere in
with
the
this
world.
nice upper and under layup.
More of the sports.
More sports talk. Here it comes. Out of my
Jenna
mouth.
was so proud of the baseball read and everything. She was over here making faces at me. Eat that.
Well,
she said.
perhaps
And then
people
we
could make
switched to-
sure all the scripts are in the proper order.
That's a little celebration before you made it to the end zone. Fumbled at the 1 yard.
Finally, a little pickup game at dusk here. Texas, Kansas State redshirt quarterback John Holcomb, the second, destroying the defender as he dunks all over him.
Look at the setting sun there.
Beautiful.
Across the prairie of Kansas.
I love it.
Look at that in the summer.
And have you
Makes me
ever
so
been
happy.
to Manhattan, Kansas? I know you've been to Coffeyville, Kansas.
Yeah, I've been to Coffeyville.
Ooh, that
Man,
sounds like a
not-
nice place.
Lord,
Not great. And I say this
What
as
idea
a
to-
native Midwesterner, but man, there is, you see that
pretty.
court right there? That's the most exciting location within 50 square miles.
All right, to the NFL now. Cowboys All-Pro running back Ezekiel Elliott. He still has 2 years left on his rookie contract, so no need to start the extension talks just yet. Or is it time? Recent reports say Zeke could hold out of training camp, and talks could go sideways if Dallas isn't proactive on a new deal. Man, seems to be the theme these days. See, are you buying that Zeke might actually hold out?
He's going to have to. The Cowboys are not going to just volunteer a contract for someone that's got 2 years left, even though he's their best player. If you look at the limited cap space they have available, Amari Cooper, the demands, they just traded for him. So when you trade for him, Amari Cooper last year with the Raiders, he comes and does what he does in Dallas. You've already told him, I'm getting ready to extend you, because it wouldn't make sense with that draft capital going out the door. Dak Prescott was their #1 priority. They can't send him out there. This is the last year of his contract. He's not making any money. I would doubt that he would even start the season without a contract. So Dallas is in a tough situation. I'm glad Jerry Jones is not doing the talking. Stephen Jones is doing the talking. I think you made a great point earlier, Nick, when we were discussing it, how he was a little bit slow on the Ezekiel Elliott. Should we extend him?
Stephen Jones, there's a quote that I read this morning that was actually back from May, where Stephen Jones was asked about a potential Zeke extension. And he said, I'm sure we're going to get that worked out in the next couple years. Compare that to what they were saying about about Dak as early as this past November, which is Dak's going to be our guy. We're going to get him extended. We think he can be a top quarterback in this league.
And Jerry has gone on to say that, too.
Both of them, the father and the son. Amari, they don't have to say anything. It's in their actions. You don't trade a first-round pick on a guy who, when you traded for him, had 25 games left under contract at the end of last season and this season, unless you plan to extend him. So I'm not going to go as far as some to say if he doesn't have a contract, he won't show up to training camp. I think if they are not working on an extension, if they are not in talks and feel like we are going to get one done, he might not show up to training camp. To me, and Charles Robinson sent out some tweets saying from what he was hearing, this was a warning shot, basically saying we're starting to talk this week. Let's see how close we actually are, because if the response is, all right, we'll start to work on something, they'll have one reaction. If the response is, talk to us next year, they will have a very different reaction.
Yeah, so they have to sign. They have to be able to try to keep their nucleus together. When they're going to sign them is going to be the problem, because I know that Zeke wants to get signed right now. They don't have a bunch of cap space. They have to sign Dak before the season starts, and the way teams have done it, Amari Cooper will get a contract extension in the first 2 months of the season, if not before the season. So what are their options as far as Zeke? You know, if Zeke decides not to go to training camp, man, what would they do?
What does the team look like? And that's the other thing.
And it's not just the team. Dak. What does Dak Prescott look like without Ezekiel Elliott there, which we saw a sample size with the 6 games that Zeke was out last.
In 2017, the 6 games that Zeke was suspended, the team started 0-3. In those first 3 games, they scored 22 total points. Now, the beginning of that, I understand Tyron Smith was also out. If you remember, it's the running back and the left tackle. But in that entire stretch, even though the Cowboys rallied to go 3-3, Dak, over that stretch, 190 yards per game, 5 touchdowns, 7 picks, a 77 rating, struggled mightily. And this is where it's rare a player, especially a player at that position with 2 years left on his contract, and Zeke would have leverage. When the Cowboys are trying to build on, we won the division, we won a playoff game, you're trying to build on Dak's confidence, what he did with Amari, Zeke does have the hammer to a degree, which is, how will you look? The Cowboys had a running back hold out once upon a time for 2 weeks. Started 0-2. He came back. They won a Super Bowl. But that was a team that was far better than this one, and they still were 0-2 without Emmett. I think it was the 94 season or 93 when he held out, waiting for his contract.
Yesterday we talked about Melvin Gordon and his potential holdout, and I asked you if that is similar to El Bell and what was going on there. Is Zeke similar to what El Bell and Melvin Gordon did, or is he in a different class?
They're all three different situations. For one, Zeke and Melvin Gordon, both first-round picks, they had the 5th-year option. Zeke is not even up to the 5th year.
So he's got
option
2 years
yet. So
left,
he's got
really.
2 years on it. El Bell was not the first-round pick, so they didn't have the option. He was a free agent who they placed the franchise tag on him and did not work in good faith to be able to sign him to a long-term contract. Melvin Gordon does not have the leverage that Ezekiel Elliott had or that El Bell had in that situation. We thought El Bell would reset the market as far as running backs were concerned. Todd Gurley did that, the same, getting a deal with 2 years left.
Right? Yeah.
So he set the precedent in the NFL. Does Dallas fold to the pressure of what the Rams are doing, or they just say that's someone else's organization, that's someone else's player, that's not our problem?
Yeah, the Rams did kind of unintentionally put the Cowboys in the jackpot here. If the Rams hadn't signed Gurley 2 years early, there would be no precedent for this.
Sure.
But if we were doing a Knicks list of most important non-quarterbacks in football, how high is Zeke up on that list? Is he the highest offensive player that's not a quarterback? Is there a wide receiver, an offensive lineman, or a running back?
Julio Jones. If AB was in Pittsburgh, we'd be able to say we don't know what they're going to do there in Oakland, but Julio Jones would be in that conversation with Zeke.
Right. It's a very short list. So that's the distinction that I would draw. Is Pittsburgh clearly thought we can do it without Le'Veon Bell. They might have been wrong. I think Melvin Gordon's a good player, but he is not even the best non-quarterback on his own team. Zeke is on a very short list of guys that can say, even as a non-quarterback, I move lines in Vegas. I am a difference maker for this team. That's his leverage point.
But being in the principal's office, as you mentioned earlier, Jenna, it has not helped his case.
No.
Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, they're not in a rush to be able to